And welcome back to Girl Chat Sports. We are on episode 27. I welcome you. My name is Melissa Ferris, one of your hosts here at Girl Chat, and with me, of course,
Stephanie Washington.
Welcome back, you guys. It is Wednesday. Happy hump day to you all. It's kind of a big night here in Las Vegas. It is debate night, hashtag debate night. It's all over Twitter. They're feeding it live. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are in town. Everything's been closed down. I think like most of the half side of the strip where UNLV is closed at the moment. So that's a big thing happening tonight here in Las Vegas. We also have Game 4 of the Cubs and Dodgers game that's on right now. Dodgers are leading that series 2-1. So those are some things we want to keep an eye out for you, hopefully while we're here on the podcast. If not, we've got some pretty cool topics to go on. Of course, we got NFL, we've got some fantasy football, some college football news. We've got Major League Baseball, a little update on the WNBA, as well as some NBA news. A couple moments that are more of a sad I think, and a happy We have a little bit of both. And then, of course, our favorite, Arms of the NFL.
Yeah.
So, why don't we start off with your Cowboys?
Man, we are on a roll. Ezekiel Elliott leads the NFL right now with 703 rushing yards through the 6 weeks. And he's actually 116 yards ahead of the number 2, which is LaShawn McCoy. So he's still beasting.
He is one heck of a player. He was on, I just posted something to our Instagram page in regards to most yards from scrimmage. He's second in the league right now through week 6. Second, only behind David Johnson from the Cardinals, who is, unstoppable. But, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is second. The names he's with is Johnson, Elliott, Murray, McCoy, and then Julio Jones, of course, and he's the only wide receiver in that whole list. I'm like, Ezekiel is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps breaking records. He's the first rookie in NFL history to rush for at least 130 yards in 4 straight games. And he's extending his record streak of consecutive 100-plus yard games by a Cowboy rookie.
And so far, no more half shirts. I've only seen the one crop shirt from draft day. We haven't seen his jersey been up halfway? I haven't noticed, but I know in Ohio State he had it up a lot.
Yeah, I think I saw a picture of him coming out with half up once.
Well, and here's the deal. I don't mind him showing off his abs. That boy has a great body.
Yeah, for sure.
Also in the Cowboys news, so how about your boy Dak?
So Dak actually broke Tom Brady's record for the most pass attempts without an interception to begin his career, which ended at 176 against Green Bay.
And how did that end?
So shortly thereafter breaking the record, he actually fumbled the ball. And I'm going to go ahead and blame that on Brett Favre. They honored Brett Favre at halftime for getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I do believe he touched Dak's shoulder and rubbed a little.
So it's the touch of Brett Favre that makes you throw an interception.
Pretty much, I think.
I think that's. I'm
going to blame him.
I mean, clearly that's the one thing that happened different that game versus any of the other, 6 or 5 that we saw that didn't change anything. So, but still, 1 interception after 6 games your rookie year. That's a pretty awesome stat to have.
We are definitely happy about that. And I guess the latest news when the Romo Prescott debate is we have a bye week this week, and the following week was initially when Romo was going to be coming back, but now they're actually saying that they may give Dak another week, so that can end the debate for another couple of weeks about that.
Well, because I think they have to go up against the Eagles, too.
Yes.
I think that's the game, their return game back for week 8. And I just had to, do a little happy dance because the Cowboys don't play this weekend, so I don't have to watch them or hear their fans.
Oh, what am I going to do with myself?
That's how I felt last week. It's really tough. It really, really is. It just gives you more time to watch other teams and, maybe gather some more contenders for our Arms of the NFL segments.
Exactly. Wow, can you believe the Vikings are the only team that's undefeated at this point?
So 6-0, okay, you don't have your starting quarterback. I mean, you do have Sam Bradford, but he wasn't the original starting quarterback. You don't have your starting running back, Adrian Peterson. You're having split time between McKinnon and Asiata. So they've got a split time. They're working both running backs, and these guys are 6-0. I can't. I still can't believe it. And here's the coldest part is that I actually had to watch football with a Vikings fan, I would say last Friday night. My girlfriend had a bunch of her friends that had her husband and a couple other friends and their husbands in town. And one of them was a Vikings fan. And he was talking so much shit to me and my Seahawks. He was like, well, how much you want to bet? My Vikings are going to take it out. We're going to take the NFC. Da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, fine. $50 on the table. So I have a $50 bet with a guy whose first name I don't even know, that the Vikings that they're going to not go farther than Seattle. So Seattle, I need you to step it up.
Yeah, even me, my cousin is a Vikings fan, and he had to come on my Facebook and say, settle down, Cowboys fans, you still have to meet us.
It's ridiculous. And the thing is that they don't even have Stephon Diggs playing right now either. He's their wide receiver. And I have him on some of my fantasy teams, and we haven't got any points. So it's kind of like they're winning. Yet it's kind of like, well, there's no dominant player. There's no one, star Ezekiel Elliott for the team. So I guess kudos to the Vikings. I'm not a Vikings hater, so I appreciate what they're doing so far. And it's weird because at this time last year, like I said before, there was more than just one team that was undefeated. It wasn't just the Panthers last year. It was like, a few others that had made it to this time frame in the season to get this far. So let's talk about your boy Dez. So Dez, we already know, is having some health issues and not coming to play and was going to be out. He had said previously earlier this week that he was going to be returning October 30th versus the Eagles, definitely back after the bye week, and to basically not ask him any more questions. But today we get news that Chef-Boy-R-DEZ decides he wants to cook a stew, and while he's chopping carrots,
he chops his finger.
I mean, first of all, why isn't your private chef cooking you your food? But second of all, what's the deal with you're cutting your fingers? Like, are we covering for something, do you think?
I honestly don't know if I truly believe this story, but I do think that when it is on season, that players should probably stay away from knives or any other things that may cause them a little harm, like maybe a drone chopping their finger off during the season.
Or perhaps a Segway while you're on concussion protocol. Or I don't know if any of our listeners watch Ballers with The Rock on HBO. Basically, there's a character on that's he's basically waiting to get re-signed for a big payout from the Dallas Cowboys, and he goes and plays paintball with his boys and breaks his ankle. So you're about to get major money and you end up getting hurt because you're out there goofing around. So I don't know. I mean, we expect these guys to enjoy their time and have fun, but during the season, when you're getting paid buku money, is it just too hard for you just to maybe not deal with knives, not play with drones, not be on Segways, all that extra stuff?
Exactly.
Apparently, it's too hard. So last little tidbit I had for the Cowboys was that Cole Beasley, who has been a fantasy little Mighty Mouse, not something super great that you want to play every week, but he only had 58 yards this last weekend, but he had 2 touchdowns. This guy is he literally is the little Mighty Mouse with long curly blonde hair.
Oh, he got his hair cut.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
So he cut his hair. I still can't believe that. Poor little Mighty Mouse, no more blonde locks. But moving on to Seattle. So if you were living under a rock, even if you're living under a rock, if you didn't catch ESPN, First Take, His and Hers, ESPN Radio, NFL Network, Bleacher Report, if you didn't watch the Seahawks and Atlanta game, I'm sure by now that you have heard about the game and the infamous call. It seems like Seattle seems to be known for their infamous calls, whether it be against Green Bay in the playoffs. Maybe it was that infamous kick. Well, I guess that wasn't a ref issue against Minnesota. However, the Seahawks were playing Atlanta at home at CenturyLink, and we started off great. We were playing we were up 17-3 in the first half. There was some great plays. Christine Michaels was doing amazing. He had a couple touchdowns. nothing could stop us, it seemed like. So Falcons came back in the second half. We were missing Cam Chancellor. He didn't play that game, so there was a little extra pressure on our LOB, including Mr. Richard Sherman. He didn't quite have an exceptional game, and for me, it seems like this year he hasn't really been playing up to his caliber that he's played before. I'm not sure if that's anything to do with like the kids at home or his wife now that he has, but he's not the same smack talking, shit talking, eating a turkey on your field Thanksgiving Day kind of Richard Sherman that we all came accustomed to. But he was slacking a little bit on defense in regards to his coverage of Julio Jones. It came down to, Earl Thomas had basically got an interception off of a deflection pass from Matt Ryan, and it set up the go-ahead field goal in the late fourth quarter. So Seahawks were up 26-10, at which point Matt Ryan and the Falcons had probably about a little over 2 minutes or so to get the ball down the field and try and score to basically win the game. It was 26-24, so all they needed to do was get a field goal. It was fourth and whatever, can't even remember. Matt Ryan threw a long bomb out to Julio Jones. Richard Sherman was right there, and it was a clear pass interference. I mean, if you watched any of the replays, you saw the news, you watched it live, you saw that Richard Sherman was definitely at fault for pass interference. The refs did not call it, and that's kind of how it went. We got the ball back and won. So we won 26-24, and I get that the refs made a bad call there, and I get what's wrong is wrong. I think what people are forgetting in this battle of opinions that's all over the news radios right now is that had Atlanta actually played harder, they wouldn't have been down 26-24. Had Atlanta had better defense, they wouldn't have been in the position they were at. They might have been up. They might have had a closer game at first half and been able to win by a touchdown or two by the end of the game. I mean, what it comes down to is that there's a lot of things, ifs, ands, or buts that could have happened to make that score change or to make that the win of the game change, but it didn't. The one ref's call didn't necessarily make a clear impact. It definitely was a bad call. If Atlanta would have got that call, they would have had a first down halfway between the point and their line of scrimmage, and they would have been able to attempt to continue on to get a field goal and get in field goal range or to score a touchdown to win, but none of that's guaranteed. So the fact that the ref screwing up the call was the reason why they lost, I can't necessarily give them all that. So it was unfortunate for the Falcons. However, I'm a Seahawks fan, and a win is a win when it comes down to those kind of situations, so I will take it. The other little tidbit of Seahawks news was that Michael Bennett got actually a bad block on him by Jake Matthews from the Falcons, and it was not called either. There was a couple calls the refs didn't call. There had been a face mask to Richard Sherman as well. A couple of things that might have been missed throughout the game. But what did happen is that we did win, so I will take it. And also, Thomas Rawls is out a couple weeks away. So Pete Carroll basically said this week that Thomas Rawls is still a couple weeks away from being cleared. And to me, that basically says he's not playing for a while. I mean, you're thinking about a couple weeks to be cleared. A couple weeks could be a handful, could be 3, could be 2, could be 5. And then at that point, you're only being cleared. You haven't been starting practicing, you have been getting ready for the games, so that should be interesting, and needless to say. But moving on, what about your guy ODB?
So Odell got injured, a hip injury in the beginning of the game, so he actually left the game shortly thereafter. But he actually came back late in the second quarter, and he did his thing. He got 8 receptions, 222 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I guess the more important news is that he's now engaged.
Oh, really?
To the Nets.
Oh, the kicking Nets.
So again, some more of his sideline antics. Pulled off his helmet, showing off his little fluff and
his blonde fluff, which most high school players and I think a lot of high school players I've seen copy this. But go ahead, the do.
So he got down on his knee and proposed to the kicking net, and apparently she said yes because they gave themselves a nice little hug, rolling around on the ground.
That makes me think of a Debbie Gibson song. I don't know why. What's that song? She like rolling around the. I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, I'm showing my age. My bad. With also going on this last weekend, Tom Brady had his first game back at Foxborough with the win. There was another issue in regards to Vontez Burfict's. He has a continuous issue with making some low blow plays, and this one affected Martellus Bennett, who is the brother of Michael Bennett on the Seattle Seahawks. And there is a hilarious video of them too on I think YouTube. But anyways, Burfict was fined $75,000 for that hit. And Kaepernick.
Yeah, so Kaepernick was back starting, and he got one touchdown. It was a 187-yard pass, but then from there it went downhill.
Right. So he had a total of 187 yards, but they got their butts creamed by the Bills, and lucky for Kaepernick, he's going to get another shot. He will be starting again for them this coming week too. So it's funny because some of the Bills players went to their interviews and were criticizing him as basically Cap's done, Cap's terrible. And not that I don't disagree. I think the Niners themselves are terrible, but hey, we've got to give everybody a fair chance, and I do believe he does deserve to have at least 2 games to try and prove that he should be the starter, even though Blaine Gabbert also sucks. So maybe Tony Romo can go to the Niners. That would be interesting, right? All those Cowboy haters of the Niners would really be loving that one. And then last but not least, we had Cam Newton. He wasn't happy at all. The Panthers are 1-4. Going into bye week, 1-4. They did so crappy in their last game that when he interviewed, he basically kept his answers to like, we got to work harder. No. Next question. Oh, is that it? I'm done. And walked out. Like he was the little kindergartner pouting in the corner. He was completely not the same guy from last year who was flexing his Superman t-shirt to the crowd every game. Oh, how the seasons change in Carolina. So that about does it for the NFL news. Please stay tuned for our little, we don't really have a sponsor, a commercial this week. We're going to show you a little game show that the guys over at the Zone Network, Arlington Lane and Palmer Alexander, had put together. Kind of just shows the names and who we are as far as the Zone Network, us, the guys there in St. Louis as well, up in New England and Seattle. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with some more Major League Football, some Major League Baseball, a little fantasy football, a little bit of college news, and we'll, of course, get to Arms of the NFL.
Get ready to match the stars. Garrett B. Jones, Melissa Ferris, Becker Alshow, Ashley Davis, Alex and Adam, and Palmer Alexander III as we play the star-studded In the Zone 16. And now, here's the star of In the Zone, Arlington Lane.
Welcome back, you guys. So just a quick little touch, and we'll go over this always as we continue to cover the NFL's move of the Raiders to Las Vegas. Look at me, I already wanted to say Las Vegas Raiders. So Governor Brian Sandoval here in Nevada, our governor, did sign the bill, the stadium bill, on Monday, basically approving the $750 million public funding to go to the stadium, and basically Roger Goodell says that there's going to be some more NFL owners that aren't willing to allow that to happen. Our guy Mark Davis, the owner, she's saying that he wants to fill out paperwork in January to get that team moved over. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah, I feel like there's quite a bit of support for moving them from all the California teams, and I heard even Jerry Jones is in support of it. So we got a few votes that we already know which way they're going to go.
And they'll need 24 of the, 32? Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to need all the votes they can get, and I guess if Jerry's on your side, that's one plus, right?
Yeah, well, I guess Oakland's mayor is still trying to get a concrete, maybe counter offer, if you will, together to try to keep them there. So they're still in the works of trying to see what they can do to keep the Raiders.
Well, that sounds like the NFL themselves. They basically want to keep that Bay Area market open for football. Obviously, the Niners aren't doing so well, and I'm sure that they're seeing that the Raiders are actually doing well and probably want to keep them there. They believe that obviously there's a higher market there. There's a bigger audience. There's a more, I guess, a higher economic audience. That people have more money there to spend on Raiders gear, Raiders stuff. The NFL, a lot of the owners don't really want the move to happen to Vegas. They don't feel it'd be as great for the league. So we'll see how it turns out in the next coming months, because it will be coming down to a vote here shortly, probably in the next, I guess, like 6 months, they said. So we will keep you posted. In some fantasy football news, I don't know what my problem is this year. I am struggling. Like, all 3 of my leagues, I'm like 2 and 3, 1 and 4, 2 and 4. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's crappy. I'm not excited about it. I think a lot of it has to do with that my wide receivers all pretty much suck. And the fact that Ben Roethlisberger got injured this weekend, he's out. He'll be out for an undisclosed amount of time, which now is looking more like a 3 to 4 weeks, possibly more. Who knows? Which his play now affects my Antonio Brown. It affects my Le'Veon Bell. So we're kind of wondering like how all this change is going to be affecting everybody. So you now have. Who's their new quarterback?
Landry Jones.
Oh, yeah, Landry Jones. Their backup quarterback will be playing. So I'm kind of like, I don't know how to play my leagues. I don't know how to play, is Antonio Brown still beginning major these catches? Will it be more of a run game? It'll be interesting to see. So that's a huge injury that's affected my fantasy football. I've got a couple running backs that have been like game time decisions or, week to week decisions. We got Arian Foster, who recently just started playing again after being out all season. But last weekend, he really didn't have a huge performance, but he got to touch the ball some. Who else was there? Will Fuller didn't play. Will Fuller for the Texans, he was basically was inactive as of like Monday night, half hour before game time. So had you not already taken him out prior, which is always very important when you're playing fantasy football, always check your fantasy football apps as well as the morning countdowns for the football games, because they're going to tell you who's possibly inactive. If you had not changed Will Fuller out of your lineup by Monday night, you would have had no one else to substitute to him with, because all those people have already played. So that's something to definitely keep in mind when doing fantasy football. A lot of running backs this year are, having some injuries. So you've got Eddie Lacy just went out this last weekend for Green Bay. Doug Martin's had some issues all season so far and hasn't really played. He was supposed to come back, but apparently had a setback in his recovery. Just recently today, LaShawn McCoy is having a hamstring issue. That's just the running backs. So luckily, for part of my fantasy football, Matt Stafford came back for the Lions, and Golden Tate was finally seen. So he actually had a wonderful game to come back. I may have to go pick him up because I had dropped him because I was done with him pretty much. But Drew Brees had an amazing game. Jamal Charles did wonderful. He had 3 touchdowns, 138 yards. He had not had a touchdown since 2015. He had missed all of this season, so he's back. My boy Lamar Miller, running back for the Texans, I have Hinneman. He had 178 yards, 2 touchdowns in an overtime win. And then, of course, we got Gore, who is the old steady workhorse who is putting in the work for the Colts. He's very steady and consistent. So part of fantasy football is that you're identifying these players that maybe may have a sleeper game, which means they may have one excellent game where they have 2-3 touchdowns or have over 100 or over 200 yards in receiving or running, and they're going to be dynamic. However, they're not every game kind of players. Whereas Gore, he is getting me, that 12 to 13 to 14 points every game, which is something that most players can't do. Usually they might be getting low in the 2 and 3s all the way up to 30 something. So fantasy football has given me some woes this year. And next year, dang it, Stephanie, you better play with us.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. I was up last night trying to make waiver wires the last minute, and I don't know what I just do this to myself for. It's ridiculous. So for all those fantasy footballers out there, please feel free to email or comment on anything in regards to who you're playing, who you're sitting, who you're starting. If you want, give us a shout out on Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat at GirlChatSports, and we'll get back to you on that. So some college football news. There was a couple big games. My team had a bye. Huskies had a bye, so that was difficult. But they played this weekend. They are ranked number 5. They're going to be playing at home against Oregon State. I'm really excited about that. Actually, the ESPN's midseason All-Americans team had been announced today, and offensive tackle Trey Adams and the safety Buda Baker. I love his name, Buda. That's so cute. They got announced as being part of that, so I'm really excited for that. What else happened this last weekend? Oh, Ohio State went in overtime. So Ohio State was playing Michigan. Ohio State, I think, is second or third now in the top. They're in the top 5. They were playing Wisconsin, and it went to overtime, which was a huge. I have my girlfriend's an Ohio State fan, and she was on her seat stressing out. And I'm like, that's how my weekends are with the Seahawks. So understand what I feel like. But congratulations to Ohio State. They actually have a big game this weekend. Michigan comes to Ohio, and we will see how that goes. But Urban Meyer, the coach for Ohio State, he has 20 straight road games. That's pretty impressive for college football. I mean, I'm impressed. Maybe it's not that great, but I think it's pretty much. It's something, right? Steph, do you watch any College Game Day by chance?
I do not.
You do not. So College Game Day would be the big broadcast, kind of like the NFL Sunday Countdown. That's like the big production before college football kicks off on Saturday mornings. And they always have like some celebrity guest where they basically the whole panel of like the 4 or 5 of them, they all pick the winner of like all the games that are coming up for the week for that day. College Game Day is set at a college campus every Saturday. So, they pick randomly like one of the biggest games or what they think is going to be the biggest game and plan for that to be the location for College Game Day. This weekend it's going to be in Alabama for a huge game. Texas A&M goes and travels to Alabama, and they will be on location there. What I found out was that it's the 16th, 1/6, that College Game Day has been live in Alabama, which is more than any other school.
Wow.
There's a lot of schools. There are more than anybody else. And they actually have 36 appearances total, which means that not only did it come to their house 16 times, but they've actually been in a different school where College Game Day was 20 times. And I think that's just crazy. So other big games for the weekend, BYU's at Boise State. Boise State's 14. Of course, the Alabama and Texas A&M game. Alabama's 1, Texas A&M is 6. We've got Arkansas at Auburn, 17-21. Ohio State's 2 at Penn State, and Ole Miss 23 at LSU 25. So I think the Ole Miss and LSU game is a big, big game as well. Can't wait to look forward to that, as well as my Huskies too.
Yeah, well, let's get you caught up on some MLB action. In the American League, the Indians end up winning the game tonight, 3-0. Actually, there was only one team in the history of baseball that's won the best out of 7 post-series after being down 3 games. Believe it or not, actually, the Indians manager, Francona, was actually the manager of the team that did that in 2004, the Red Sox. But they actually came back from a deficit after being 3 outs from being eliminated. Unfortunately for the Blue Jays, they actually were not able to win. They lost this evening. And did you see Game 3? The bloody finger?
I didn't.
It was not good.
What happened?
Cleveland Indians starter Trevor Bauer was fixing his drone and cut off a big portion of his right
From
pinky.
a drone? Was he
Right.
flying it at the game? I don't...
It said something about being at his hotel, so I don't know. He's just having a little fun.
Weird.
Once again, don't be doing these things during the season. But yeah, so he was trying to pitch with his pinky being mangled, and they actually ended up taking him out of the game fairly early.
Wow.
But they still won regardless, and they won the division today.
And they're going to the World Series. It's the first World Series since 1997.
Wow.
So Cleveland, not to mention, just won the NBA basketball championship, but now they're in the World Series for baseball. So we're just wondering when the Browns are going to get their butts in gear, because that would be like the trifecta. Clearly not happening this year when they're 0-6, but
True.
hey, you never know. I know Braun had a big tweet to the guys basically saying, let's bring it home. So I know all the guys in Cleveland are looking forward to this. I'm sure the Indians are looking forward to this. I know that game you were talking about when the pitcher with the bloody hand, that actually they had used 7 pitchers that game to win. It was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Also, just got a little team stream update on my phone. It looks like Addison Russell just hit a 2-run shot to give the Cubs a 4-0 lead in LA in the fourth. So that should be interesting. It's gonna snap Chicago's 21 inning scoreless streak. So congrats to the Cubbies. We'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, so a couple different historic things happening in the National League division. In the very first game, it was a thriller. It was the 8th inning, and Miguel Montero hit a grand slam. It actually marked the first time in history that a pinch hit grand slam provided the game-winning run in a postseason game.
And just for those of you listening, a pinch hit is when basically they're subbing you in. They're subbing in a hitter for you because they maybe don't think that you're going to be hitting that well, or maybe it's because a right-hand pitcher and they want you to be a left-hand batter or something like that. So just to give you a little background on pinch hitting.
And then this evening, history is also being made because the Dodgers rookie left-hander Julio Urias is going to be in the game, and he's only 20 years and 68 days old. He will be the youngest player in Major League history to make a postseason start.
That is so crazy. What were you doing when you were 20?
Not playing Major League Baseball.
Right? I think I was at like a college frat house at the time, probably having kamikaze night. So it wasn't playing in the National League Championship Series. That's just insane. So congrats to him. Quick NBA news. It's still preseason. I actually got to go to the Warriors-Lakers game this past weekend on Saturday in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. It was my first time there at the arena for a sports game, so that was pretty interesting. I previously went for the, I think it was the Drake concert, but great game. Warriors, I don't know who thinks they're going to be able to contend with these guys come season unless there happens to be an injury. These guys are great. I mean, Green didn't even play, and Durant and I think Klay Thompson had more points than the Lakers in the first 2 minutes. So Klay Thompson had 12 points, the Lakers had 11. That's how easy it was for them. They basically blew them out the first half. I think when it came to the third quarter, Durant was like, I want to come play some more. So they played a little bit more. He came back and scored another 15 or 20. Come fourth quarter, I don't think any starter for the Warriors even went in. So that's the only reason why the final score was so close. I want to say it was 112 to 105 or 107 to something. It was something that was within 8 or 7 points. So that was pretty interesting. Another thing, I personally like Derrick Rose, and he actually got cleared. Him and his 2 friends got cleared for the civil trial that was going on in regards to those sex allegations. I think it was back in 2013 originally or something like that. But those charges got cleared. Derrick does play for the Knicks now, no longer with my Bulls, but so I'm sure he's out celebrating tonight.
Yeah. Speaking of NBA, former Detroit Pistons star Rasheed Wallace published a letter in the Players Tribune on Tuesday addressing the Flint water crisis. I know that we haven't really been
Is there still an issue there?
Right, so it really hasn't been in the news at all, but people are still needing clean water in Flint. So he definitely spoke up about it and said that he appreciated the support all these years and that it's not over. So he's been spending his own time and money and bringing in water and asking friends to come as well to continue to provide clean water for the people of Flint.
I love that. Rasheed Wallace, he was a Portland Trailblazer for so long, and I really always admired him and enjoyed his game and style. So I really appreciate that article, and I'm glad that he's doing something for them. And I honestly hadn't even heard about it. I guess we're so busy in this Trump-Hillary saga, which my mother literally just texted me and said, Trump is giving Saturday Night Live some real good material. So I'm sure Saturday Night Live this weekend will be really interesting in regards to their material regarding this last debate.
And some news and some maybe possible trades. The Miami Heat and the Kings have discussed a trade that would send Rudy Gay and Darren Collison to Miami for Goran Dragic. Sacramento really needs to trade Gay. Apparently he's really not happy and doesn't like it there, and they can't let him walk away for nothing.
So I may need your help. I'm actually getting pulled in to do fantasy basketball, which I am not sure I can do. Maybe we can have a joint effort team.
Tag team.
Tag team. Real quick, in some awe and oh moments, I know you had an article in regards to Kerry Washington, who was our scandal actress. She and her former Raider husband, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Nandi Samuga. Sure? Yeah, maybe?
Something.
They welcome their second baby. So that means Scandal is back on to be hopefully shooting soon so we can get more action.
Yeah, so it's their second child, and I think that he retired in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, from the Raiders.
Great. And then in some sad news, there was a really terrible story in regards to the Olympic, was he track star?
Runner. Mm-hmm.
Runner, yeah. Tyson Gary, his 15-year-old daughter was shot to death.
Yeah, so his daughter was in the parking lot at about 4 a.m. on Sunday, and unfortunately she was caught in some crossfire between two vehicles. A bullet actually struck her in the neck, and she later died at the hospital. They don't believe that she was involved with any of the car. It was just an innocent bystander. And they've officially arrested the fourth man in connection with the shooting.
So you're 15, and it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, they didn't really say what she was doing out there at all. But
I'm curious. Not that I think it's her fault for doing that, but you have to wonder, like, what were you doing out in the middle of the street or out in the parking lot at 4 a.m. when you're 15 years old?
Yeah, even more terrible is that two of the suspects are a father and son duo.
Oh my gosh. Well, lock them up, throw away the key, and yeah, let's let the guys in prison deal with those two. How about that? Anyways, we want to wrap up this show today, and of course we cannot do so unless we bring you the arms of the NFL. This week I've got we mentioned earlier in regards to the Steelers, but Darius Hayward-Bay, he's a Steelers wide receiver. He had actually went for a 60-yard run and touchdown. He had like 18 fantasy points in the first quarter, which he'd only had been projected for like a 1 point total for the entire game. So congrats to him and to his arms. Go ahead with the second one, Steph.
All right, and
we've got what's his name? Nigel Bradham, the linebacker for the Eagles. This guy, when I tell you the arms on this guy are pretty phenomenal. I got a little throwback for you. I don't know if you're familiar with Showtime himself, Mr. Primetime Showtime, Deion Sanders. He was a cornerback. He was played for the Falcons, the Cowboys, Niners, Redskins, Ravens. What I didn't know, and I don't know why I didn't know, but he also played Major League Baseball for the same time frame. He would play for the Yankees, the Reds, the Braves, Giants. He was the only man to play in the Super Bowl for the Niners and the World Series for the Giants.
I think that his arms still look good.
Definitely still has arms that look good. Also, one thing that I thought was funny, I never knew this before about him. October 11th, 1992, he played in the Falcons game at Miami and then flew to Pittsburgh, basically hoping to play in the Braves League Championship Series that day. He is the only person or the only athlete to play in 2 professional leagues in the same day. Although he never played technically for the baseball team that day, he was on the roster ready to go. Crazy, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
So that concludes episode 27. We are going to get out of here. Also, be careful and watch out for Thursday, 5 o'clock, is the WNBA Championship Last Games, Game 5, Lynx and Sparks in Minnesota. So tune in for that. Thursday Night Football, the Bears versus the Packers. Monday Night Football, Texans and Bucks. And, of course, my Sunday Night Football game with the Seahawks and Cardinals. Yes.
That about wraps it up.
Thanks again, guys, for checking us out. Please check out Stephanie on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at
S_wash.
And please check me out at Seattle, the number 4_life, as well as comment, like us, share us on SoundCloud, Podomatic, YouTube, and Facebook at GirlChatSports. Love you guys. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another great episode of Girl Chat Sports. And remember, we don't have balls, but we know how to cover them. Until next time, guys.